Long before I entered the seminary and then later the religious life, I used to think that holiness was equivalent to tranquility or calmness. To my mind, a holy person was forever calm in any kind of situation or life conditions, undisturbed, expressionless, and detached. Later on, as I became a Dominican, I began to realize that a religious life or a life of holiness is actually a joyful encounter with God and His people. Living in a community of preachers, I witnessed that it is truly the joy of the gospel, our encounter with the Word of God, that becomes the source and foundation of the Dominican community life and preaching. It is because the Holy Father Saint Dominic himself, through his life, has given witness to the order and to the entire church that holiness is indeed a joyful following of Christ. We recall a story when on his way to the general chapter held in Paris, in company with a batch of some brethren, one morning, our Holy Father Saint Dominic sent all these brothers out into the town to beg bread for their breakfast, bidding them join him at the neighboring fountain. When they met again, they found that they had scarcely enough for half their number. Then the master, immediately, full of joy, giving praise to God, asked the other brothers by word and example to do the same. As they were all filled with such spiritual gladness and holy joy, a woman standing close by took scandal at the sight and rebuked them. "Are you not a religious man? What causes you to celebrate at this early hour?" But when she learned the real cause of their joy and saw them rejoicing over their want of food, she was deeply touched, and hurrying home, brought them bread and wine and cheese, saying, "If you were joyful and give thanks to God for such a miserable collection of bread, I want you now to have a greater cause for rejoicing." After this, she withdrew, feeling highly edified, and asked them for their prayers. Our Holy Father Saint Dominic also had a reputation for a passionate love for singing, particularly the Ave Maris Stella and the Veni Creator Spiritus. The story goes that one day, while traveling to Rome, our Holy Father Saint Dominic and a certain brother, Bonvicius, got caught in a heavy rainstorm, a downpour. The streams and rivers were all swollen. But since he rejoiced in difficulties, our Holy Father Saint Dominic praised and blessed God by singing the Ave Maris Stella in a strong voice. When he finished that hymn, he began another, the Veni Creator Spiritus. He sang it all in a clear voice. We then ask, where does this joy of our Holy Father Saint Dominic come from? We are told that Saint Dominic was a man who spoke to God and spoke about God. It was his deep love for God and his compassion towards the people whom he met and preached to that made him a joyful friar. This holy joy in Saint Dominic, the joy of the gospel of salvation, became one essential message in the Dominican preaching. We also learn from Saint Dominic that a life of holiness is a life of joy rooted in the love of God and His people. And finally, from our Holy Father Saint Dominic, we learn that joy is our preaching, and preaching is our joy. Thank you for watching Preaching in the City. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, DSMC Studio, for more inspirational and catechetical videos from the Dominican brothers. Terima kasih.